Hello everyone, how are you? I wish you do well. We have seen the sequence in general, that was an introduction. Today we will continue with the sequences, but we will focus on the lists. We have seen that a list is a sequence of things that we put between the brackets. So, for example, for the empty list, which is this, which we use or we create it like that. So, if we print as we have done in the last session, if we print this list, we will find that it is empty. So we can put in this list whatever we want. For example, integers. For example, oh, no, here for example, integers. For example, some strings. So cat, dog, for examples. So we can see it. So it is a list of two things. We can mix all this data. We can, for example, add here integers or floats, whatever we want. It is not a problem for this type of sequences. Good. There is also what we call nested lists, which has a list that contains lists as elements. So here we can add, for example, a list, for example, of something. For example, so we have here a list of elements which contain another list. So which is we name or we code a nested list, and we can also add listed lists into this little list. Good. Now what we want to do is what we call list indexation. So this list contains some elements. So for example, first of all, we want to know how elements it contain, of course with len. So list of len. So here we can print this result, and we'll find how elements it contains. So it contains 6 elements: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the list, which is into the big list, is just one element. So if we want to make an indexation for this list, we will of course begin with cat, but in Python the first element is indexed by the number 0. So here we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. So for example, if we want to know the index of the first element, or if we want to know what is the first element, so we have just to put it like that. So list, and between the brackets the number 0, which will gives us the first element. So if we do this, we will find cat. So cat, which index is 0, is the first element. So of course the second element is which has the indexation 1, so dog, and so on and so forth, until we reach the fifth or the sixth element, which will have the indexation of 5. So the last one is of course the little list. So if we want, if we try to go further and make, for example, the indexation of 6, we will have no results but index error, which means that the list index is out of range. Good, because the range is between 0 and 5, which is 6, exactly 6 elements. Good. We can also, for example, go into this little or nested list. So this nested list, which contain 4, 7 and false, we can reach its elements one by one. How can we do this? Is by nesting the indexation. So for example, for the last element, which has an indexation of 5, we will give it another indexation which is 0. So what we are writing here, we are writing that the element which is here, this list, which contain 4 and 7 and false, which has the indexation which is 5, we want its first element, which is 4. Okay, so that we will have here, so 4. If we go to the second element, we will have 7, and the final element we will have false. So this is how we go through the nested list in a big list. Good. In Python, we have also what we call the negative indexation. For example, if we put here -1, perhaps we will say that it is not possible. That makes no sense. But in Python, that is possible. What means -1? It means the last elements, which is this little list. So if we print it, we will have it here. And the -2, of course, will be this element 5.7. Okay. For example, the -3, of course, it will be 2, and so on and so forth. And for the first element, of course, it will be -6, because we have begin with -1. So if we -6, it will work, but -7 will have no sense and it will raise an error, of course. Good. Another element that I wish to discuss with you in this session is what we call slicing. So slicing, here for example, we have this sequence. We have this sequence. If we want to have not just one element but 2 or 3 or more, we can use what we name slicing. So for example, if we want to begin with cat until dog, we can here write the first element, which is 0, and with the colon, and for example 1. We'll see what it give, but here 1 is not used. So from 0 to 1, but 1 is not accepted. So if we want to include dog, here we have to meet 2. So what this means, from 0 to 2, but 2 is not calculated. So practically is from 0 to 1. So if we print it, we will find from 0, which cat, to 1, which is dog. If we use 3, we will have 3 elements, and so on and so forth. For example, we can begin with dog, of course, and we can, for example, begin with 1, this one here, but we will not indicate any final points, which means to the last one. So it will return from 1 to the last element. We can make it otherwise, so from the beginning. So here I will not indicate the beginning, but I will indicate the final one, which is, for example, the fourth one. So here we will go. And if I didn't indicate neither the beginning, neither the nor the final, so we will have the whole sequence. Good. Here we can also change elements of this list. So, for example, if I write here list of, for example, the second element is equal to, for example, tiger. So what I am doing here, I am changing the second element, which is dog, by tiger. And if we print the list now, we will find tiger in the place of dog. We can also change a slice of elements, for example, from 1 to for example to 3, which means 2 elements. We'll change them by this list of elements. So tiger and for example lion. So we'll see what we will have. So we have tiger and lion in the place of dog and the number 1. So this is how it works. We have also some method of adding elements to our list. For example, but here we have to write list dot and the method. For example, the first method is append. This list append, for example, the boolean true, for example. So we'll see the results. So we have true, but in the last rank, in the it is the last element in this sequence. For example, so this append is adding just one element, but if we have to add many elements, we have to use another method, which is extend. So extend, it is extend. It is used with sequences. So if we have another elements, for example, 100 and 200, and if we want to add them to the list, so we will have those elements added to the list. So remember, append is just for one element, but extend for a range of elements that we want to add to our list. So here a sentence, or not a sentence, a list is just like a sentence. So in order that so list, it is like a sentence, because we can operate concatenating and and concatenation and repetition. So we can concatenating and what, and repeating and repeating a sequence or a list. So we can do this as we do it in strings. So how? So we can concatenate two sequence by using plus, or repeating a list by using the sign of multiplication, asterisks. For example, if we take for example our list which is in the first line, and if we add it to another list, for example of 100 and 200 and 300, we will have our results. So here we have to give it another name, or just to print it. So print this concatenation, and here we will to delete this print. So we will see what we'll have. So this is our two lists concatenated. Also we can do the repetition by using the multiplication. So if we multiplied our lists, for example, by 2, it will be duplicated 2 times. So this is how we use these two concepts in lists. In order to delete a list, it is also simple. So how can delete element is by the keyword del. So, but we can also use the method remove, or the other method, which is pop. So we'll see them right now. So because they are methods, they accept the parentheses pop and remove. For example, for our list, we can del an element. So as you see, del changed its color. So for example, we want to delete the third element, 1 2 3. So we will use the list 2, and we will print this result to see our list how it is now. So as you see, it don't contain the number 1. So dog and 2. Here dog 1 2. So we have deleted the second element. We can also delete a slice of elements, for example from 2 to 5, and we'll see it. So all these elements are deleted, and we can also delete the whole list. So we have nothing. The name list is not defined, so it is a name error. So if we use del list, so there is no more anything in Python or in this console that is called list. So this return error, name error. Good. So if we want to just remove an element by using its name, so we can use this method remove. So remove what? For example, we can remove the element cat. So we'll see that we don't have the cat. if we use pop, so pop, I need to record, yes, here we have to indicate the index of these elements. For example, dog, so which is index with 1, so we have the elements without, or the list without dog. If we didn't indicate an index, it's just remove the last one, which is here the nested list, and we can just clear this list. So it is the last method, so we can add it here, for example. So clear, it is a method. So clear this list means that it will be an empty list. List attributes clear. So we have here some yes, here we have to write, so list objects and attributes clear. So I think clear it is clear list. So I will check it and tell you what it is not going on here. So we will stop here. So we have seen many methods that can work in lists. First of all, the empty list, the mixed list, nested list, and the indexation. So we have seen also how to do a slicing, how to add and remove and concatenate and repeat a list. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next session with another very important concept in lists. So goodbye.